Welcome. This is Sidebar. Sidebar, a frank discussion on life, the law, and liberty. Sponsored by the LaHood Norton Law Group. And now, your objection sustained. Your hosts, Karen Klaus and former Bexar County District Attorney, Nico LaHood.
1200 WOAI, this is Sidebar. If you have never listened to Sidebar before, thank you so much for tuning in today. You're going to be in for a big treat. Some of the topics we'll be talking about this week. We got our first American Pope. Is it the first American Pope or the first American Pope in like a couple of thousand years? No matter what, it is already out and about in the news saying he was chosen because he hates everything that Trump is for. That I want to get straightened out. Also, this week we learned about this new U.S.-UK trade agreement. How is that going to affect all of us? And then this one I haven't read much about, but apparently a statue of Thomas Jefferson was removed from New York City's City Hall after 187 years. And if anyone's asking, well, what did they put in its place? I don't even know if I should talk about it or if we should mention it later, but it's definitely not Thomas Jefferson. Every week, come here, listen to Sidebar, because that's when you'll get a chance to hear former Bexar County DA Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Araujo, scholar, former chemist, and pharmaceutical researcher and director. I guess we should start with the Pope.
Well, can we start with wishing all the wonderful mommies out there a happy Mommy's Day, happy Mother's Day tomorrow?
Very cool.
I think hopefully every husband, daddy, or even if they're not married, someone, a man in their life and people in their life should honor them. And Romans 13 says to give honor to whom honor is due. And look, we don't have a society without mommies. Period. End of story. So, I mean, God believes they're fearfully and wonderfully made, as Scripture says, and just like men are as well. But I'm just saying we should honor them. I mean, they should be honored every day, but especially tomorrow. It's their day, so hopefully that they're blessed. It's Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you for starting with that. And me, as a mom, I always forget to mention that. And even though moms say that they just want a day of peace and quiet, they do want a gift.
Well, the gift is peace and quiet, I think.
Yeah, but we want an additional gift that we can open. So just a little note for you. Yeah. So this Pope, he's the first American to fill the role of Pope, and they're considering him sort of from America, but sort of from Latin America. I think he spent a whole lot of years in, missionary in Peru, and he is now Pope Leo the 14th?
14th. Look, I looked into it. He's from Chicago, so he's American. I mean, the guy speaks 5 languages, which is amazing. Yes, he's been all over the world. He's done a lot of mission trips. There's a lot behind it. I'm just going to, I'm going to pause and let the guy do what he's going to do. There are some things, his first homily, or they don't do sermons in the Catholic religion, but homilies, I didn't hear the whole thing, but he said some good things, traditional Christian ideology and theology. People that know the papacy made a comment about what he wore in his first appearance was more traditional, which is good because Francis didn't like that kind of stuff. Yes, the criticism is he aligned with Francis on a lot of things, and of course his tweets are coming back to haunt him. Or I don't know about haunting, but criticize him. Okay, fair enough, whatever, maybe.
What were his tweets?
I don't know, criticize him. Typical stuff, open border stuff and on different issues. But he's real big on life, from what I understand. I have not followed his career, didn't know who this guy was. He's big on life, marriage, and on the trans thing. I mean, he's pretty solid on those things, from my understanding. And maybe George can correct me. I'm sure he's looked into him. Leo the 14th, maybe something significant. Leo the 13th was a very traditional kind of pope long time ago. It wasn't any time recent. So there may be something behind that. I heard a commentator make a point, which was interesting because he kind of came out of left field. I mean, even when we were talking about, I think George and I were just, jawing it up after R-rated Christianity. I don't remember when we were doing it, but there was someone from Africa they were looking at. There was someone from Asia they were looking at. There was someone from, I heard a commentator say, well, no disrespect, I mean, it's just the Vatican and the church is like bankrupt because.
Wait a second.
Well, I mean, from my understanding is because after Francis, a lot of American Catholics, American Catholics were not donating as much because they really had there's a lot of Catholics, and I'm not saying this
because
to be disrespectful.
He was political?
Well, not, but it's okay to be political, because politics, as you know, Karen, we've said this, comes from the root word of polity. You know, a set of ideas advocated by a group of people to affect the lives of others. That's a good definition of politics. What's your polity, and what's the political? What is the idea, and the polity is the group of people advocating. I mean, Matthew 28:19 is a political statement: going to all nations, making disciples of all men, teaching them to obey all life commanded. That is a political statement, not a partisan statement. It's a political statement. Ideas advocated by people to affect the lives of others. I'm just trying to break it down. So the Christian movement is quote unquote political. It's not partisan per se, but it's political. Now, of course, these days it'll lead you to a partisan platform because they're so different now. But I'm just saying, I don't have an issue with a pope being political, but what are your politic? What is your polity? If your polity is not the politics of heaven, then I have an issue with that. Any Christian pastor, sermon, pope, bishop, whatever. So I don't. But Pope Francis's ideology was many people believed anti-Christian, anti-Catholic, whatever, to their idea. So that was the issue with. I know a lot of people in America had an issue with Pope Francis, a lot of conservatives. So let's see what this guy does. I mean, let's give him a chance. And I'm not Catholic. I was born and raised Catholic, went to Catholic school from Montessori to college, but I'm a Christian. I'm a non-denominational Christian. I'm a Christ follower. But let's see. Let's see what happens there. I don't think it's a big FU to Trump. You know, everybody's got to make it about Trump.
I know,
it's like,
that's
relax,
so
man.
true.
Golly,
yes.
Not everything's about Trump. And the guy's a human being. Let him be. But I don't know. Let's see what happens.
I was surprised, no matter what he stands for, that
5 languages.
I know, but that he was an American.
I think that's the appeal. The argument is because that was a strategic move.
Yeah.
To draw back in the American Catholic.
Yeah.
You know.
Now I get it.
Group, and so I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, I don't know what they do in their conclave. There's
George
a lot
does,
of funny.
don't you, George?
Well, no, he's not Catholic, but he snuck in. I saw one of Snoop Dogg sneaking in. That was a funny meme that went around, you know, on the smoke coming out. But
that's so funny.
I admit, Nico, as you're talking, you're like, I don't know, everything's about Trump, and I admit, I sent a text, and it's just always a curiosity. You know, this guy he seems to me a taller, skinnier version of Francis who speaks English. And in a sense, he can serve a real useful purpose in terms of bridge building because of that. Because I don't think a lot of bridges were built. Let's say that, and Nico just mentioned it, between American Catholics and Francis. Was it December 2023? He just absolutely rocked the world, doctrinally and otherwise, when he decided it was a good idea for the church to bless same-sex unions. But not in the context of marriage, he said. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. That seems to me a distinction without a difference in a sense, because let's talk about that. Why would the Church of Jesus Christ bless same-sex unions when this is the complete antithesis of what is prescribed in the Scripture as the only acceptable relationship between a man and a woman, namely monogamous heterosexual relationships that then find fruition in the context of a marriage between a man and a woman? And so what does that mean? To bless means to what? To praise, to celebrate, even facilitate the welfare or the advancement thereof. This is not a thinking and a practice that the Scripture advances. And so this was significant. And so there is a departure between that stance and from what we know and what this Pope has posted out there. He has not joined Francis in this thinking. He has, Rael is a little strong, but he's been pretty clear on where he stands, and that is more a traditional view with respect to sexuality. And he's not a particular fan of gender ideology. That seems promising to me. He does seem to be on the same boat. And I went back to what he has posted on these things. We don't have time. He's actually posted quite a bit. He does seem to be aligned in terms of Francis's social ideology, social justice, climate change. He does see he does see a climate crisis. For instance, I would not agree with that. I don't think there is a climate crisis. I'm a climate crisis skeptic. I always tell people. That's
not a theological issue, though, right? That's not that.
Well, they make it a theological issue because if there is a crisis, then it behooves us as stewards of this earth to do something about it. Now, obviously, if you see something as a crisis, Nico, or just a need, and of course, I think everyone in this room, and if you're the staunchest conservative, you care about the environment, for goodness sakes. You live in this world. You care about the air you breathe. You care about the water that you drink. But is there, in fact, an existential environmental crisis? And I think the evidence is actually in the opposite direction, regardless of what the International Panel on Climate Change says. And so this Pope seems to me on board. Question is, what's he been doing this whole time, Nico? Because he came in, it was, I think, 4 nominees that came into the conclave. This guy is the least known. On paper, it seems to me a long shot. I only found, and I try to go to Catholic sources on what's the thinking here, and they see this guy as a compromise. In other words, he's not Francis 2.0, but maybe Francis 1.5 or Francis 1.75, in the sense that he seems to share Francis's priorities. As I said, a taller, perhaps skinnier version of Francis with administrative skills. That was the compromise.
That's the big deal, the administrative skills.
Exactly, because Francis was sort of fly by the seat of your pants, and he did leave, he did leave the church. And this is important because it showed up in the homily. He cares about a synodal church, S-Y-N-O-D, where synod means a gathering, where then we gather together and we walk forward in unity. Francis left behind a very splintered church doctrinally, and Nico mentioned otherwise, fiscally. Those are my thoughts.
I mean, I do want to go a little bit more into it because one, it's a beautiful traditional thing, having a new pope elected, but the political part, I don't understand. So if we can continue this conversation, we'll be right back. But remember, sidebartv.com, sidebartv.com, that's where you can get on social media, and that's where you can contribute. We'll be right back.
To strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state.
woodnorton.com.
1200 WOAI, this is Sidebar. And if you didn't hear me right before the break, I mentioned sidebartv.com. The reason I did that is you can find a social media platform that you can get on now. You can watch the show live and then continue to watch the show after the show. We are done at 10 here on 1200 WOAI, but we continued the conversation. And also sidebartv.com. Go to the bottom of the first page, and that's where you can become a contributor. We would really appreciate anything that you can give. So back to the Pope. See, I am a little bit confused because when I first heard that, oh my gosh, they picked this guy, and I said gosh because I don't want to say God when I'm talking about the Pope. But when they said this guy is a political animal, he is just like Francis, he is the continuation, and he has been tweeting about immigration and his views, and I was like, wait a second, how can that not be a political stance? How can you tweet something like that and then ignore it? How does that happen?
Yeah, again, I'm not making too much of that right now because I mean people are.
I know you're right.
People can change. People can because J.D. Vance criticized Trump. I mean called him, compared him to Hitler, whatever. That comment that came back to bite him, and he admitted he was wrong. So I mean, just because you're a cardinal doesn't mean if you think you're a cardinal or whatever theological position you hold, pastor, whomever, and think you can't change, you should not be in that position because we will continue to mature. We'll continue to mature until the Lord calls us off this earth, whoever you are. And so making him a pope, whether he's the vicar of Christ, and that we can debate the Catholic ideology when it comes to the position of the papacy and whether it really goes back to St. Peter and Matthew 16 and some other scriptures. And George and I have talked about it on R-Rated Christianity before, and obviously I part ways with the Catholic thinking on that. But it's an important position, and there's a lot of Catholics, and I think there should be someone there to steward it well. And George said on the break that he was an advisor to Francis. Some people may say, oh, he's the same as Francis. Maybe he was the other side. Maybe he was the Scott Jennings of the CNN panel to Francis. Who knows? I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know. I mean,
this is an open question. I like the way you said it up front. You got to give this guy a chance. Yeah. Everybody deserves a chance. I mean, I have reasons for optimism and I have reasons for concern, and so the man deserves a chance. It's okay.
And someone said that he's going to try to reach out to world leaders. I hope he reaches out to Trump. I hope he reaches out, because that's, I mean, Catholicism, Catholic just means what, universal, right? So when you think about Catholicity, when they were talking about the scriptures and what books made it into the Bible and the different councils, Catholicity just means universal. What was universally believed at the time? So Catholic just means universal. So there's a universal belief. I mean, yes, it's a denomination now, but that's not the original use of the word. And so I hope he is a bridge builder, to your point, George, and to other people's optimism. I hope he's a bridge builder, but I hope he builds a bridge with the truth of the gospel. I mean, because Islam is doing their job, and they've already taken. We're going to talk about the UK in a second. And the UK, I mean, that trade deal. I think it's going to be irrelevant in a few years to come, because the UK is done. But I mean, and we can discuss that at some other point. But I hope he does build a bridge, and I hope he's not embarrassed to speak about the truth of the Christian worldview, as other worldviews or other people and groups are not ashamed of theirs. We shouldn't be ashamed of ours. But you should be able to defend it, and that's where I think we make a distinction.
I admit, I was concerned, but I think we need to give the man a chance. I'm concerned because the Vatican has become really sort of a podium to advance left-wing ideology under Francis. I mean, that's unquestionable. And the Vatican has moved in the completely wrong direction. When I said that he's an advisor to the Pope, it's like, what exactly did he advise him on? It's a good question. One of the things he advised him on is on the appointment of bishops across the world. And so, okay, how's that working out? So you got what's sort of Catholic social teaching, for instance, are bishops gathering around, and that may also be what's behind Leo, because Leo the 13th, you mentioned Leo the 13th, his predecessor of that name, had a lot to do with authoring the Catholic positions on social teaching that were more traditional in view. So maybe that's a good sign. But I'm a little worried, that the Vatican is going to continue moving in that direction, and I'm not sure this guy is going to have, because it comes from that cloth, okay. And I'm just not sure. And so I think that the appropriate thing to do is to pray for the Vatican and to give the man an opportunity to walk in these very big shoes, because he's got a lot of responsibility. Setting aside my theological differences with the Vatican,
I'm not worried about it because I'm not Catholic anymore. But secondly, they'll just continue to lose more Catholics. I mean, I think, and it's interesting because a lot of high-profile people like Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson's wife have gone Catholic, and I think it says a lot. And we'll talk about that. I think I'm going to bring some of this stuff up when we talk about that New York statue and what young people are really looking for, and what really people are looking for in general. I think the Catholic Church kind of trying to appease people in the past with different ideology. We're too strict here. I mean, look, I won't say it the way I say it in men's Bible study. There's an 11th commandment: don't be a jerk. But I say it a different way with men. But I mean, so you want to speak the truth in love, but do it in a way that draws people close to Christ. And so I hope that he doesn't compromise. I hope he can be a wonderful personality, a bridge builder. But I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But I am gonna lose sleep over the trade.
Yeah, well, that's funny because you keep on saying build bridges back better, and I keep on thinking of Biden.
Build back better.
Yes.
That nobody talks about anymore because he didn't build anything.
Exactly. And I know we're not going to talk about it today, but I haven't even had a chance to catch up and watch his View appearance. Stop. We're not going to talk about that. But let's talk a little bit about the UK and the US. Was it a maxed out deal? What is it? It wasn't a big, beautiful deal like it was in America, but what was it all about?
Well, I mean, I think it was a good thing. I don't think it's a great thing yet. I think it's a good thing. I think the market reflected what it was. If you looked at the market at the time, it didn't tank and it didn't shoot up. It stayed green. Okay, great. So I think, and the market's fickle, so I'm not like a big old market dude and whatever the market says, but it's part of the economy. Can't ignore it. And so we look at that as an indicator, so to speak, maybe not an official one, but I mean, it stayed green. So I mean, okay, the market liked it overall, and I like it overall. Now I look at this I mean, it's there's a lot of things to talk about whether we're in a deficit or not, or a surplus with UK. But why did it break from the EU? And there's a lot of different things we can talk about. But I think the timing is good because it could be that snowball effect leading into the midterms. The bottom line is this. If the Republicans don't win the midterms, Trump's going to be a lame duck president. He's going to be defending himself against impeachment. It's going to be a mess. And so I'm sure he knows that. And so he needs to start rolling out some of these trade deals. Obviously, the economy has rebounded. I mean, if you look at the stock market, it's almost back, if not back. I didn't look at it yesterday on where it was before. I mean, so people's 401ks have rebounded. It's going to do even better once that big, beautiful bill, quote unquote, comes out. And it's going to be a synergistic effect. I look at this. I like Dave Ramsey's approach. You know, the debt snowball. You know, don't just attack your biggest debt with the highest interest rate, just the smallest debt. Forget about, and then it snowballs and snowballs, and then you build up this momentum. I think this is a snowball effect. I think this has the potential to be a snowball effect because it was positive, because there's something good. It can move forward, and then now he's got. If he really does, and I have no reason to disbelieve this, all these other trade deals ready to pull. If he's waiting for strategy and timing, because you do something too soon, people have a short memory, right? I mean, so this could snowball into something very, very good. I think China is feeling the effects. I think people that thought he was nuts and he was an imbecile are kind of keeping their powder dry because it looks like that this could work out the way he was thinking. I'm still holding him back, but China is feeling the pressure. He stuck to his guns, and same with his team, and so there was unity in that. I'm optimistic about where it could go.
You're always so much more self-controlled than I. I'm going to go all out here, Nico. I'm going to do it again. This will absolutely work in his favor, and it's not because I'm an economic genius. It's because the math is in his favor, and it continues to be in his favor. So Trump has, admittedly, great negotiation skills. At least they all say that. But the math works in his favor. I mean, a $27 trillion market, it kind of helps. And it will just absolutely devastate foreign economies to not have access to this market. First of all, they're used to the market. This is what they've been doing forever. Their whole economies are based on that. You don't just sort of cut that off without significant consequences. I mean, China is a sort of a little work study in that and what's going on over there. I mean, it's just absolutely devastating their economy. And shall we just pause here a moment and say that as we speak, Scott Bessent and a trade representative, what's his name, Jameson Greer, are in Switzerland. Meeting, I think it's Li Hang or whatever.
Don't butcher the names like you did last week, George.
No, it's Li Hifang. I think, no, the other way around. He Li Fang. And yeah, I'm sorry, it's true. It's the name. It's not John Smith. But you've got a Chinese dignitary over there meeting with Bessent and another trade representative. And I despite all the chest puffing publicly, I think China's coming to the table with hat in hand. I think we're going to see good things coming out of that.
Why is this meeting though? This is just kind of, hey, we're open for discussion. We need to de-escalate this.
No, I think that's the word.
Yeah,
de-escalation. But China's already decreased tariffs. They've already on a number of things.
When you got China not reporting their economic data, you know they're in trouble.
And 40 banks closed this week in China.
They've lowered interest rates, trying to boost or devastated.
Protests.
Indeed, 16 million jobs on the line. They got nobody to sell to, and it's not just the United States. It's the rest of the world, because people know what China's about. Mm-hmm. They know how abusive they are, and so this is an opportunity. Trump has actually made it. It seems ironic to me, with all the complaining, Trump has made it okay for people to stand up and say enough is enough. Nobody wanted to do that before, okay? Because nobody wants to be the odd man out. Trump sticks his hat out there, and people are like, you know what? He's got a point. Nobody is rushing to get in bed with China at this time. China is on the precipice of economic devastation.
People thought.
What's that?
That's not what people thought was going to happen.
That's not what.
And Trump played it well. Whether you like him or not, he played it well.
And I
think
always
the
thought that.
India-Pakistan deal benefits the United States too.
Indeed, we have always thought that here. And again, not economic geniuses, because I mean, we're looking at the math, and we're saying we're looking at how a fifth of their economy is dependent on the United States. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's not too many ways where this could go. So why is the deal with the UK, considering it's one of the few countries where we actually had a surplus?
Right.
Why is that significant, Nico? They kept calling it a framework. There's a very key message being sent here. You and I were texting back and forth. This is a huge message to the EU, because we do have about a $235 billion a year trade deficit with the EU.
Them,
Yeah, those days are over. Because if you look at the framework here, think about it. If the United States has a surplus with you, you think the United States would be kissing your butt. But Trump's coming out of this maintaining the 10% tariff. Trump is sending a message, there's a cost for doing business with the United States. Why shouldn't there be? Why shouldn't there be a cost for doing business with a market? So he didn't reduce those tariffs. Even on UK automobiles, where the tariff has been at 25%, he said, okay, for the first 100,000 cars, we're going to drop the tariff down to 10. And then after the 100,000, it's going to go back up to 25%. They jumped on board with that. They haven't given us access to American beef, which is what everybody was talking about. I saw one article, where's the beef? Literally. They haven't given us access to American beef.
You mean they haven't wanted American beef?
They haven't given us American farmers and ranchers access to sell their beef in UK at all.
Right. That's what I mean.
For decades.
Yep.
And so you had Brooke Rollins jump on Twitter, the agriculture secretary, to say, hey, this is a $5 billion windfall for us. Are you kidding me? We're going to get unfettered access to the UK market. So that's a big deal. We're expanding the markets. We have tariffs that have dropped to zero. We keep our 10% tariff, so we continue that revenue stream coming in. So this is a framework for how Trump wants other deals to go. People are thinking, man, if he's treating people with a surplus like this, we're not going to be any different. In fact, we better shore this up real quick. So good for him. Yeah, okay, in terms of dollars and cents, it's not, hundreds and hundreds of millions of bucks.
I just hope his timing is right. Look, obviously his strategy is working. We can't say it's worked yet. And I just wait. People say, I'm going to win this trial. We have this evidence. Until that jury comes back with a verdict, you haven't won crap. So that's why I'm the way I am. So I don't count my eggs before they hatch, or whatever that says. But it seems like it's working. I just hope his timing is on, because the timing matters.
Remember, he used to say, we're going to be so tired of winning because we're going to have so much winning. It kind of feels like that right now.
Well, it's not there yet, but it's
If I may make a recommendation, ask everyone to read a piece by Scott Bessent on the Wall Street Journal.
Okay, we're going to take
strategy.
A break. Please remind me. You're going to say that again, but we'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
San Antonio's news, weather, traffic, plus breaking news 24/7. This is News Radio 1200 WOAI from the GiveMeTheVin.com Sell Us Your Cars studio.
I'm Brian Gann on News Radio 1200 WOAI. More Texas reaction to the new pope being selected. First, traffic and weather together.
From the WOAI Traffic Center.
Loop 410 southbound, the on-ramp from Houston Street is closed due to some construction. 35 northbound, the connecting ramp towards Loop 1604 is also closed for road work. I'm Alexis, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Mostly sunny today, highs in the mid-80s, now mostly sunny and 73 degrees at the WOAI 24-hour weather center. Our top story, those who know the new pope say he is the right man for the job. San Antonio's Catholic Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Sierra served with Pope Leo in Chicago and says there was constant talk about bringing peace to the world.
The world today is at war in many ways. We need peace, and he will be a peacemaker.
He says Pope Leo's also young at just 69 years old. A bill that aims to close a loophole regarding who has to be on the state's sex offender registry is now on the governor's desk. The bill named Audrey's Law after 12-year-old Audrey Cunningham, who was kidnapped and murdered in 2024. Illegal immigrants convicted of murder would be eligible for the federal death penalty under a bill being sought by Senator John Cornyn. He says it is an important check on states that have soft on crime policies. Tejano and country music singer Johnny Rodriguez is being remembered today. Rodriguez, who was from Sabinal, Texas, died yesterday at the age of 73. His daughter, Aubrey Rodriguez, announced his death in an Instagram post, saying he has passed peacefully surrounded by family. Johnny Rodriguez was 73. I'm Brian Gann on San Antonio's news, weather, and traffic station. News Radio 1200 WOAI.
This report is sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light. light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
From the WOAI Weather Center.
This morning, then increasing clouds for the afternoon with a high today headed up to 84 with a slight chance for a late day or evening thunderstorm. The overnight low should fall to 62. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 88. I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr from the Weather Channel on San Antonio's official weather station, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
1200 WOAI, this is Sidebar. Now's your chance. Get on SidebarTV.com. Yes, please help us out, become a contributor, but also get on social media platforms so that you can continue after the show. Okay, before the break, you were saying something about an article, George.
Yeah, I apologize for the rough transition into that break there. I mean to keep talking over it, but I'm excited about it because if you've wanted a breakdown of what's inside Trump's head, no, it's not a dark and gloomy place. This is a phenomenal piece. Trump's 3 steps to economic growth in the Wall Street Journal. This is probably the first balanced to positive piece on the tariff strategy and its broad implications that I've seen in the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal has been raining down pessimism, which is unfortunate. I mean, I can find very few writers in the Wall Street Journal. And people go to the Wall Street Journal for clarification on this kind of stuff, to sort of calm fears. But I think they've only fomented concerns. But this is an excellent piece. The caption is, his tariffs, tax cuts, and deregulation efforts make up a coherent strategy to benefit Main Street. And then he breaks it down and says, look, we're going to renegotiate global trade. All the stuff you've heard. Tariffs are an effective tool for balancing international commerce. They reduce trade barriers in other countries. They open more markets to American producers and bring back thousands of manufacturing jobs. If you see what's happening in this framework of the UK at a very small level, because the dollars aren't that much, even though the total goods and services between America and England are around 148 billion a year, in terms of the overall dollars compared to a China or the EU, it's pretty small. But the framework of the deal seems to represent what Besant is describing in this piece. And man, he just tears China a new one. The loss of millions of jobs throughout the early to mid 2000s, Nico. We lost 60% of our manufacturing base to them. And he's saying Trump is giving those workers who ended up in permanent unemployment a voice.
The unions are supporting this. And when you look at how many people, when all this stuff was happening with the stock market, when you look at the percentage of Americans that are actually in the stock market, it's relatively low. So it's like all the upper echelon. I mean, that doesn't mean we ignore it. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't the same. The sky is falling mindset out there that people, and I think that's what you were trying to make, George, a few weeks ago. That point when you were looking at and you were cross-referencing different polls and outliers and the polls that weren't accurate in these pollsters. I mean, a poll's a poll's a poll. I have no idea. I mean, and don't pull out your poll. Remember you said that, Karen? Everybody's laughing at that. But let me real quick. I want to take a break and do a PSA real quick, a public service announcement. And then we'll get back on this and UK and then other topics, Karen, that you want to go. But next week, we're going to have Rolando Pablos on the show.
Everybody online is talking about this.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to have Rolando Pablos on the show. And we're reaching out to Gina Ortiz Jones. And she's welcome on the show, too, because we're going to give them both a platform. We're going to give them the last 2 blocks of the show, each of them, if they want it. And then, of course, the after show. So you can bring in your questions, and we're going to have our own questions. This is not going to be gotcha interviews for either one of them. We're going to ask both of them questions.
I like
they
that.
think they're tough questions. That's on them. If they're not, we're not here to debate people. We're here to have a conversation and discussion. I want people to know each of them. I've never met Ms. Ortiz Jones, so it'd be a pleasure to meet her, hear about her background, have her talk why she's running, some of her ideology, what's the urgency in her campaign motto. And same with with Rolando. I know Rolando in the interest of full disclosure, but no one gets a pass with us. You know that. We're going to ask questions and where they come, why they're running, and what they can do for San Antonio. What's the problem, and how can they usher in the solution? So Rolando is going to be next week, and then Gina, hopefully she'll accept, will be the following week, and then they're welcome to come back, and they can do it at the same time if they want to. But we wanted to give them both their own separate time so they can really flesh out and then answer questions.
Nico, I know that luckily, I'm not saying that you are like so instrumental in your brother's win, but I think your strategy to him on trying to reach people, with him, it was like a Republican Democrat, old school Democrat situation. But in Bexar County, it really comes down to people not voting.
Yeah,
but
well,
how do you reach out to people that don't vote and never vote? How do you do that?
Rise in interest. You the people that are going to vote, that they encourage 20 people to vote. I mean, look, there's going to be a low turnout again. I mean, Ron Nirenberg beat Ivy Taylor in the runoff. Ivy Taylor beat Leticia Van de Putte in the runoff. Both of them were behind in the original. This is an open race. I mean, this is a completely different election, and it's a sprint. It's less than a month away now for the runoffs, and it's important. It's an off-cycle election. I've always complained about that, but whatever. Maybe it's better theoretically because you're not getting so much of the tribalistic voting. Straight ticket this, straight ticket that. This is technically a nonpartisan race, but everyone has their ideological leanings, and I think it's very clear in this race. And so you just need to talk and see what's going on. Now, they're going to have a number of debates coming up. People should watch them and attend them and encourage people to vote. And City Council has a couple of runoffs too. So you have different runoff races as well. You just can't bitch about where the city's going and not do something about it. And when you think about it happened during Fiesta, so what a crappy time to have a vote for mayor and
really
city
was.
council, but whatever. But when you think about that, on average, somewhere between 8, 9, 11% of people vote for the mayor and city council. I mean, in the 6th largest city in the country,
so embarrassing.
That's insane. I mean, no disrespect to whoever's held those positions before, but I don't know if I'd be so proud about that. I mean, don't get too proudful because it's only 35%, 33% in gubernatorial and presidential cycles. I mean, of registered voters, not people that aren't even registered that could get registered to vote. And so I'm only one person, but you're still one person. And you can influence other people appropriately and debate your discussions and have discussions and share your ideas and encourage people to vote. We need to do that. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be good to have Rolando here, and hopefully Gina will show up too. If I may call her Gina, I don't have permission to yet, but I hope she'll give me permission. But and talk and answer questions, and then people can make an educated decision.
I like it. So the way you've structured this is that second half of the show, they get an opportunity to just explain to the San Antonio voter why they're the right choice, what their priorities are, and why. And then really on the after show, we have an opportunity to sort of, just ask them. Maybe I want to listen very carefully to what they say is the most important thing for the San Antonio voter, and I just want to understand it, flesh it out a little bit, and I think it'll be great for people who are listening.
Well, I think the after show will give the listeners an opportunity to put in their questions.
Yeah.
Now, we're not going to just take everyone off the bat, some wacky questions and people go off the rails. But I mean, we'll be looking at them and trying to, and just present them to them.
We'll put a promo during the week to get the audience's questions, beforehand, just to get an idea.
Go. Yeah,
we'll put a promo during the week.
That's good, Salo. That's perfect. Okay, sorry for that, but I want to announce it so I didn't forget.
No, I do love that, and I think that it couldn't have hurt anything. It helps so much with your brother too, because it gives everybody a chance to actually listen instead of having a 30-second or 20-second soundbite like you've always said.
Well, I want the audience and whoever wants to watch both of them to get to know them as a person. Now, they're not going to be hanging out here drinking a beer or margarita or whatever, but we're going to do our best just to have a conversation, And so, like I said, in full disclosure, I know Rolando, but that doesn't mean, that you've got to make up your own mind. And I want both of them to talk. I want to ask questions to both of them. We're going to agree and disagree on things, and that's how you get to know someone. I hope they come and relax. There's not a gotcha situation for any one of them. I know that people think that just because I'm conservative in my ideology and my politics, so to speak, that I'm going to be against Gina for some reason. No, I want to listen to her. I've never heard her speak other than public conversations or whatever, these debates that were. I mean, when you have 12 people on a stage, you're not debating. You're just throwing out sound bites, and that's crap to me. I want to dig deep, and I want to peel the onion back and ask questions. And they should be able to. I went into hostile territory. This shouldn't be hostile for either one of them. It's going to be a platform for them to really give their pitch, and it's not going to have to be an elevator pitch because we're gonna allocate the last 2 blocks on the radio portion, and then as much time as they want as they have on the after show.
And it's not about agreement; it's about understanding. Knowing who it is that you're dealing with. Was it a 19th century statesman by the name of Eduard Taft, an Austrian statesman? He says politics is the business of keeping interested parties in a state of equal dissatisfaction. You're just never going to please everybody.
That's right.
But be who you are, comfortable in your own skin, and let us know what matters to you. Looking forward to learning.
I hope both parties come, because that in itself would be magnificent. Because
Rolando's confirmed for next week.
Good.
So that's for sure. I'm just saying that I have someone that knows Gina and Miss Ortiz and Jones and her campaign, and so I'm hoping that the following week works for her. We'll make whatever weekend work for her, because I want to adjust to her. So we'll work around her schedule. But I would think if I was her, I would want to be as close to my opponent as possible. So if Rolando's coming on next week, then I would want to come on right after him, and then and whatever happens after that will happen.
Well, the only thing that I've seen on her so far, and this is not positive, not negative, when it comes to her, it was her decision, is right after the race, a reporter came up to her and wanted to ask her some questions, and she blew them off, and was just.
But we don't know why she did that, and so there's an opportunity to explain it. Right? I'm sure the debates are it's going to come up in the debate, so this won't be the first time. I think they're having a debate this week, if I'm not mistaken. But she should be able to explain that. I mean, I don't know what was going on at that moment.
Two sides to every story.
Maybe
let's hear what the story is.
Not feeling good. Who knows? But she can explain it. I'm not.
She was on her way to Fiesta. That's that. Period. She didn't want to have time.
Chicken on the sticks. I mean, I'll reject anybody for that.
Chicken on the stick. That you said.
Okay, we only have a few seconds for this segment to be over, but seriously, we have to talk about this Thomas Jefferson statue, and I guess what the replacement was. What was the discussion, and
what did they replace it with? Can you explain? No, wait. Can you explain to me, Karen?
No.
What did they replace it with? Could you be descriptive,
an overweight
African American.
black woman.
Yeah, we don't do hyphenated Americans.
Yeah,
we don't do that.
I don't get it.
I don't know if it was replaced. Is that confirmed that something was replaced?
Yeah.
Because,
yeah.
But this statue is in the middle of Times Square.
Okay.
So I don't know what.
But why did they take away the other one? I don't know.
If
We're going to have to talk about
it.
We're taking a break right now, but we'll be right back with this discussion on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700. 210-797-7700. LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
Okay, this is the last segment on 1200 WOAI, so you might as well get your social media set up to join us for the after show on Sidebar. So here's the story, Nico. I just pulled it straight off, and whether it was true or not.
Well, then it's got to be true if you pulled it straight off.
In New York City, the Thomas Jefferson statue at New York City Hall was removed and placed on long-term loan to the New York Historical Society. The statue was moved after a vote by the Public Design Commission to remove it due to Jefferson's history as a slave owner. The statue was replaced by a new 12-foot-tall bronze sculpture of an overweight black woman in Times Square. So it wasn't put in the exact same place.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But they removed one and added another in a separate place.
For different reasons, maybe theoretically. But look, I mean, statues typically, historically, have been to venerate someone because of what they did, what they represented, and, things like that. But ultimately, many people believe that the purpose of a statue is to transfer values from one generation to another, right? You look at a statue, you remember what they did, you ask, Mommy, Papi, what did that person do? Well, this is so-and-so, and this is what they did, and this is what they accomplished, and this is what we can learn from them. And hopefully we're reminded to keep those values of that person that we're venerating and that we're honoring into our society to continue down and to pass them to generations to come. That should be done in your family, but many times that doesn't. But this is our societal family this is my opinion. I mean, and other people, I think, share this as well. And my question is, what does it represent? I mean, I know that the artist said it's like a modern day David. I read somewhere yesterday or something like that. And the stance is a little bit like David. And to me, and this is just a discussion to start about regular people.
David,
the statue of David.
Oh,
the statue of David. Except he's got a lot less clothes on. Yeah. So.
Different physique, though.
Well,
I thought David the Teletubbies, but
no. No, this is what I read. I mean, again, who knows if that's what he really said, but I just don't understand. No name to start a conversation about just regular day folk, but does that represent regular day folk? I mean, what about, does the Latino get upset because what about me and my abuelita in an apron and chanclas, I mean, all this other stuff, and then the white person says this, and the Asian says, that's not how we do it, and then the Indian says this. I mean, I don't understand. I just don't know what this, to me, it kind of, I mean, mediocrity was never celebrated. I don't know if that's, could someone take that as just kind of a mediocre person? And it has nothing to do with ethnicity. I mean, it has to do with just, okay, what is that doing? And the problem is, when you say, it's just to have a conversation about everyday regular people, and this is where the worldview comes in. This is where your ideology comes in. Because in the Christian ideology, nobody's just regular, right? Everybody has the Imago Dei. God bankrupted heaven for everybody when Christ came, and we just celebrated resurrection and Easter a few weeks ago. I mean, so that's the story. The story is that you're unique, that you're one of a kind. Luke 15, the lost coin, the lost sheep, and the lost son. I mean, Jesus is obsessed with lost things. Why? I mean, there was nothing great about that sheep or that coin or that whatever, that son, so to speak. I mean, but God gives us a reminder on our fingerprint that we're unique. No one's ever had your fingerprint in the history of mankind. And as long as God leaves people, no one's ever going to have your fingerprint. And that's always fascinated me. Screw the snowflakes. I mean, it's the fingerprint that we have a reminder of our uniqueness, that none of us are just ordinary. Now, how do you define exceptional? I mean, is it money? Is it status? Well, go to Hollywood and see how that works out for them. Or the NBA or any professional team or someone that owns something that gets, money, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Okay, or is the ordinary someone that works the corner, as I say in the men's Bible study often? See, I'm going to age myself. See, Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, everyone thinks that the exceptional is either Rocky, that you have to be the one winning the championship, but nobody talks about Mick. Mick was in the corner. Rocky's not Rocky without Mick. Now, did Mick get the accolades? No. I mean, it's if you saw Mick at the grocery store or on the bus, you would think it's just a grumpy old dude. But he had a purpose, and he was exceptional in one of those purposes, and he helped create Rocky. Now society today either venerates the Rocky or the person in the stands, but nobody venerates Mick. And so all I'm saying is this is where worldview comes in to me. I mean, that's where the story gets deep for me, because I don't get the purpose of this statue, and I could give a crap about its ethnicity, whether it was a Hispanic lady or a black lady or a white lady or Indian lady or Asian lady or whatever lady it's going to be, and why the lady has to be a little bit overweight and just wearing regular clothes. And I'm not saying I'm not the guy that wears, I don't want the fancy dress and the high heel crap, but I'm just saying, what is the purpose of this statue? Now,
well, they tell us. They told us the purpose of the statue.
I'm really the real purpose. I mean,
they tell us
purpose.
The woman, if you look at the description of at the ground level, here's where it states: the woman cuts a stark contrast to the pedestaled permanent monuments, both white, both men, which bookend Duffy Square, while embodying a quiet gravity and grandeur. This is not just a statue. Nico's point was completely valid. A statue is more than a statue. It's an advancement not just of a particular person and their accomplishments and their achievements, but the values. That we were basically saying, hey, do more of that. Now, not everything that person did was perfect.
Right.
Obviously.
Right.
Flawed human beings. Sure, there was a lot wrong, but there were kernels of greatness that we can all emulate, learn from, and advance in our culture to make it better. And so you had Thomas Jefferson there. They had earlier removed Teddy Roosevelt, two presidents of the United States, one a founding father. And so what's the message here? This is a very clear message. In hyper left-wing New York, this is a statement of cultural power. This is the standard. And get with the effing program. And I dare you to say something about that, because we'll label your ass racist in 2 seconds. I dare you.
But that's not the overt message, my point. That's what I was trying to get at. That's the underlining message, right?
Well, as I said, you're much more self-controlled and kinder than I am. I think it is rather overt. You topple a statue, you drag off Thomas Jefferson, and you put everyone and no one there. What's the message? The message is there's no such thing as greatness. There's no such thing as honor. There's no such thing as beauty. There's no such thing as goodness or truth. There's no such thing as achievement.
Yes.
And don't you... And what is... You brought up an interesting point. What is it that it's advancing?
Yeah.
It's advancing identitarianism.
Identity politics, right?
That's it. That's the highest good. And I dare you to say something about that. So when Salo and I were texting back and forth, we were trying to decide what we were going to put out there. And all the pieces are coming back, or article after article. I saw, plump. One person said rotund. Another person said swollen, and so forth. Substantial, prodigious. Pick your adjective. Black woman. And so just the note. So Sal and I went back and forth kind of teasingly. Should we put in black or should we leave out black? Because just mentioning black, this is the kind of thing, if you don't see it, it's subtly in our culture. This is why I despise, Nico has to talk me off a ledge often. I despise the hyphenated crap. It drives me insane. Compare this, Nico, with New York in 1900.
What do you mean?
We have everything's African American, Asian American, Hispanic American. I know you talk about that as well.
Yes.
Compare this with the spirit of New York in 1900 as people got off the boat into Ellis Island. Do you really think the Polish person and the Italian person, the guy from Sicily or from wherever, do you think that they were coming here to sort of plant a flag for their particular ethnicity? No, the highest goal was to become an American. Not to erase your ethnicity, but to assimilate around a common creed.
That's right.
That does what? Well, you don't have to look very far. And just go and see what Martin Luther King said.
That's right.
I think what he said is he verbalized, he characterized the American creed, the American ethos. And what we're seeing 60 years later, that's what this statue represents. It's an exact reversal, it seems to me. We're actually elevating the reversal of Martin Luther King's creed. Oh, that's brilliant. That's not going to end badly at all. And so I think I'm stepping back. I'm saddened by it. I was angry by it, but now I'm just sad. I'm sad because where does this go? When you reduce the American culture, American priorities to skin color, to sexual preferences, to gender, you lose the soul of the country, Nico.
Yes.
That really is disturbing to me as a person who doesn't just love this country. I adore this country. So we got to recognize what's going on here. Identitarian politics are demonic, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you 100. Everything you said is spot on. But if you ask the average person what that meant, they wouldn't have said what you said. I mean, so that's why it needs to be talked about. That's why we need to talk about these things. Because I mean, you see people doing the conversation on the street or whatever. What do you think this is? What do you think this is? What do you think this is? I think a couple of
say that again, please. If you ask the common person
what this represents, they don't know.
And how does that not break your... If you guys are listening right now, listen to what he just said.
Yes.
This is heartbreaking. And you know what? I'm guilty of the same thing. Everybody in America, every conservative to one level or another is guilty of it too. Every time we talk in hyphenated speak, whenever I do polling analysis, well, let's look how Trump is doing broadly across all these demographics. And where do the numbers go? Well, how do Asian Americans feel about him? How did Latino Americans feel about him?
I never talk about that. I can't stand it.
And then we break down the breakdown. Well, white suburban soccer moms. I mean, can we break it down any further and kind of underwear they're wearing maybe? Or how they blow their nose? This is what we do. And we've adopted an ideology that is divisive at its core. And I think your point, I think is the most important thing we've said, is that we do it now. The average person doesn't even think about it, and I worry.
They don't, and that's why you know how consistent I am about this. A guy, here's an individual, here's a man who happens to be black, who happens to be Hispanic, who happens to be Asian. I never say African American, Asian American. You're an American. Like I tell people, I mean, I'm an American of Lebanese Mexican descent. But I'm an American.
Priorities.
Yes, priority is I'm a child of God. I'm an American. I'm a husband. I'm a daddy, of Mexican Lebanese descent who happens to practice law, and I have other interests too. That's my order. But I mean, we this becomes our identity when you start talking this, and this is really a descriptive. Now we should celebrate ethnicity. I mean, like my ethnic roots in Lebanon and Mexico. I mean, I'm very proud of them. I love the cultures, and then we should Portuguese. Salo, he doesn't know where he's from, but I mean, everybody else. We should celebrate these things. God created all of them. And so he didn't make a mistake. And he didn't make a mistake making white people, by the way, of different European backgrounds. And so I loathe, when I say loathe, I loathe this type of putting people in boxes. I put people in boxes based off their character. I do. And their moral compass and their standards. Now, I want to try to influence them and bring them over to my box, and I hope I do it effectively and with truth and persuasiveness. But that's for me. The descriptive. I don't put people short, tall, bald, hairy, whatever, athletic, lean or heavy or whatever the thing is. Those are just descriptives. But your character is something that you work on and that I think truly reflects the mind, will, and emotions of somebody.
And if you look deeper, the randomness of it is a very clear message. Unchosen things like race and sex are everything to the left-wing Marxist ideologue. They're everything, because how dare you choose one over the other? How dare you say something is better than another? How dare you say a set of values is better than another? How dare you? I love what you said. Let's just settle for mediocrity. Mediocrity is okay.
That's what it is.
Boy, what a wonderful message.
That's what that showed for me.
To send the average American.
Yeah. Either you got to be Rocky or you got to be the person in the stands. And I think everyone has value and everyone is unique the way I was describing that. Look, we're going to continue this. We have 30 more seconds. Karen, well, because you're always making me point.
Well, because y'all don't shut up when I point at the
but
clock.
you're pointing. I don't know if you're flicking me off or
I know. I can't.
you're pointing at the time clock.
I need a statue of Karen somewhere.
I need a statue of Karen.
That's so bad.
Well, join us on the
15
after show.
seconds now.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to round it up. Join us on the after show. Look, please share. Next week, we're going to have Rolando Pablos. We're going to reach out to Gino Ortiz-Jones for the following week or whenever she can make it on. But join us on the after show. We're going to stay on for a little bit. We're going to take your questions, maybe go back and forth and discuss some of these issues and other issues that didn't make it for the show. Have a wonderful weekend. Happy Mommy's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all you wonderful mommies out there. Thank you for serving our families and our culture and our society. God bless you. Bye-bye.
The preceding show was paid for by the LaHood Norton Law Group. The views and opinions expressed are the
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Test. Testing 1. We haven't discussed what we're going to discuss. Going back to that man on the street in Times Square, to me, that group of people is like trying to find a jury of my peers in Bexar County. It's like,
Karen, but you would look among your peers. I mean, we do that. We look among our peers, and I was just thinking about. There's a video, and I never got a chance to send it to you. Nico perks up. Video? Yep. It's a video. Marco Rubio is accepting a lifetime. He accepted a lifetime award, I think, down in Florida. And he spoke for about 20 minutes. I sent it to my daughter because my daughter's pursuing a degree in political science. And I said, honey, listen to this man. Listen to his journey. He did a great job. He's cracking jokes. Rubio's great. And in my view, and I know Nico feels the same way.
Yeah, I do.
And I sent it to my daughter, Haven. I said, you need to listen every word and listen how he sort of walks through, how he ascended to where he is right now. He's very humble about it. And he repeatedly thanked the people in that room who helped him as a young man get to where he is. He also he had a degree in political science from University of Florida before he went to University of Miami to get his Juris Doctorate, which you know something about. And he went through the process. And I just sat there in awe, and I thought, truly, what a great and marvelous country, despite our flaws. The opportunities that people are given here. When you look at his humble means and what he came from. And so I sent it to my daughter as a word of encouragement. I said, there's nothing this guy has described that you can't do. And she listened to it, and she was very, very encouraged by it. Why do I bring this up in this context? Because you use Marco Rubio as an example of somebody who brings you encouragement. He affirms American ideals because he embraced them, and people around him
embrace them and encourage them to pursue them. Personal responsibility, care for self and the neighbor, recognition that there's a God at some point in the future. Yeah, that's right. We're going to have to stand before him and give an account. And so he memorializes these things and embodies them for all his faults. And so we've identified Marco Rubio. Oh, no. That's why I think the randomness here is a clear message. The idea, I would have been okay if they would have picked out a particular black woman. I mean, we have all the time. Harriet Tubman comes to mind. You want to talk about a true American hero. Yeah. I mean, seriously, Harriet Tubman.
Parks.
When I was a kid, fresh off the boat, if you will, in 1978, it's one of the first little books that I read because I was like drunk on reading about American heroes in John M. Grass's, Santa, my sister's here, John M. Grass's library. I used to go in there. It was like a church for me. And I'd go in there and we'd have a break. Everybody would go to read. And I would literally just go book after book. And I read Harriet Tubman and fell in love with her story. Highlight a particular black woman, but that's not what they did. No. It's not any particular black woman because every black woman is a hero, see? Based on what? On what? Race and sex. Now, our American history by default.
But these are the same people that are in the transgender bullshit, right?
And that's something. So our actual heroes like Jefferson and Roosevelt and Washington and Abraham Lincoln, now they're the opposite. So, oh my gosh, they're white. Oh, that's bad. And they're specific, they actually accomplish things. And so they become a parody of villains, you see. This is a turning of the American experiment on its head. And statues, I love what you said, have enormous power to convey a set of priorities, a set of values. These are corrupt. Now, you can see it in left-wing New York, which desperately needs a character bypass. God help us. But for other people across the country, I mean, what happened? What was it, San Francisco or San Diego, where they put that giant naked woman statue a couple of weeks ago? Seriously,
no idea.
It was a giant naked
woman?
statue of a woman. Am I nuts here? I thought this was in the news a few weeks ago, and I thought this sounds so crazy it can't be true. But that's the same kind of mindset in left-wing San Francisco. You erect these statues, no pun intended, and then you say that's the values. That's what we're shooting for. That's what should be praised and celebrated. I think that's dangerous for the country. People need to see it for what it is. And I love what you said. The average person probably isn't thinking
they
like
don't.
that.
I guarantee they don't think of it that way. And they're just kind of scratching their head going like, I don't know, what did she do? I don't know, maybe she's talking about the plight of the black woman or the black American or whatever it is. I mean, that's the first thing you might come to your mind. But then why her body type? Why this? Why that? Why that stance? Why her garb, what she's wearing, her outfit? I mean, because statues mean something. You're memorializing something. You're memorializing either a set of values or whatever, an accomplishment. And I don't know. It just doesn't. I understand your analysis is wonderful, George, but I mean, most people would be scratching their head going like, what the hell does this mean?
Michael online has a funny statement. He says, funny, they erected a statue of a fat black chick in Times Square, but they removed her from the pancake syrup bottle. You remember that?
Man, that is a good one.
Aunt Jemima.
That's terrible. Yeah.
Wow.
But we got so I don't even know what the word is. I want to say something really stupid, but we got so stupid about it. Okay, I mean, if you're black, you can talk about black. I mean, there's something in the news that I ran across. It came up on one of my feeds this week. I didn't even know it was an issue. The whole issue with the N-word. Did you guys see that, Salvo, this week? I mean, there's like a huge discussion on the N-word. I was like, what do you need to talk about? To me, it's a disgusting word. But I think the point being made is, people that are black can say it, but nobody else can say it, which I don't think anybody should say it. If a word's bad, a word's bad. It's not bad for you and not bad for me. I mean, either everyone can say it or no one can say it. And if you say it, it sucks or whatever. In content, but this is what we get into. And you're Mexican, so you can make Mexican jokes. You and George Lopez, and you can do, all the black comedians, they can make fun of black people, and whites, you can't do shit if you can't make fun of anybody, by the way. I mean, I think that's bullshit. I really do. And that's why I always bring up Don Rickles, the spirit of Don Rickles. I mean, and now this new comedian that's pushing, like the Dave Chappelle's, the people that are in Bill Burr, and I like Andrew Schultz. I mean, give it away. I mean, that's my humor, those three dudes. I mean, and they just, no one's safe, as it should be. You're a comedian. If you don't like it, don't watch it. That's it. I don't like certain jokes about special needs people, right? And so people with MR. I don't even like that word. Retardation is the short version of that. I hate that word, and to me that's one of the worst words. And I have a special needs son. He doesn't have MR, he's on the spectrum of autism, but still, they hear a kid stemming or in the corner doing that. Oh, look at that, And so it boils me. I mean, I literally hate that word, but you can say it. I'm going to call you a dickhead, and you can call me whatever you want to. We can sign a waiver and we can scrap, or we can walk away from each other. I don't care, but I'm going to use. You can still say it. I'm going to walk away and not listen to you. So I mean, we just got so goofy, and I wish we could. We laugh again, and it seems like the left can't laugh at shit.
No,
they just can't. I mean, they're not funny anymore. When I was growing up in politics, and I looked at the Democrat, the classical liberal Democrat that said, "Hey, free speech." Laugh a little bit. You guys are uptight. You stuffy white dudes and all that. That was the talking point. And now it's different. I mean, look how many people have tattoos. And I remember when I ran for office, and you can't show your tattoos, and your wife has a nose ring, and you better have her take it off. No, she's not taking it off.
Right.
She's not going to take off her nose ring. I mean, and I'm not going to cover my tattoos. I'm not going to. I'm just. They are what they are, because they mean something. This is a permanent statue to me. On my body, on my skin, and so. I wish I'm seeing some hope in this area. I hope, but I don't know. I think we have more discussions about this.
I would like
really
to give,
it.
if I may, as you're talking, it truly, when you train up a generation to identify the other by just what's different, you really truly lose your future.
Yep.
You do. I want to give credit. This is a piece that I think is phenomenal. Everybody should read this, I think. It's in pjmedia.com. David Manny, Manney. Nico, it's called The Politics of Division When Identity Becomes a Weapon. And he makes an interesting point here, and I got to give him credit because I've never heard it stated this way, and I think it's amazingly done. He says it's not just a theoretical debate. Why are we talking about it on Sidebar? This matters. This will shape the history of the country. He said history is replete. Never thought of it this way. With examples of what happens when identity becomes the cornerstone of power. In Rwanda, the Hutus and the Tutsis were once indistinct neighbors until colonial powers codified tribal differences for easier control. The result? Genocide. In Yugoslavia, and ethnic divisions inflamed by political manipulation led to a bloody civil war. That's true. Bosniaks, Serbs, Croats, once neighbors, turned deadly enemies. Even in America, we felt this burn before. The 1960s brought righteous fury and overdue reform, but also saw militant splinter groups like the Weather Underground and the Black Panthers push identity to dangerous extremes. They didn't want unity. It was supremacy, retaliation, and power. We'd be fools to think ourselves immune. Look, this isn't...
That's sobering, but it's true.
Beautifully said. And it's under history knows the cost. And
when you emphasize differences, you focus on differences. I mean, that's all you see. That becomes your identity. That's all you see. I mean, you don't want that. My children don't look at things like that. They look at ethnicity as just as a descriptive. I mean, so-and-so's taller, so-and-so's lighter. Maya has hazel eyes like my mom, or greenish eyes. I can't hide hazel. And so you're describing somebody, but it's about the character and who you are. And look, it's Martin Luther King, which was taking it from the Bible, by the way. I mean, which is great. I mean, I love it. And so they're trying to redefine Martin Luther King. They want his movement without his mission. I mean, it's hypocrisy. But that's what the left does. They bastardize and they break everything and destroy everything they touch. And that's a set of ideas. And then the people, in my opinion, I mean, even people that listen to this show that disagree with us, I think, because I saw it in politics, people just voted for a tribe without really analyzing what they believed in anymore. And I think San Antonio is guilty of that. I think San Antonio still has a very strong democratic hold in politics, but not in ideas, and they don't realize it. I really believe that, because you'll talk to people that run as Democrats, when you talk to them in the whisper, not behind a microphone, they don't believe the shit that the national movement and the local movements are doing. They don't, but they understand the game, and it's a game. Politics is a game.
But why are they still winning if the entire nation, we know, the majority voted for Trump and what he believed in and what he continues to succeed at getting done? Then why is that other voice still so loud, and why is that group so big?
I don't think they've gotten deep enough into the ideas yet, and I think pain is a good motivator. George and I say this all the time, when the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of changing, then we change. Kind of that the first time you went, hey, give me a chance. What do you have to lose? Type what Trump did.
But listen to what he said. Say that again. When the pain
of staying the same exceeds the pain of changing, because everybody thinks changing is painful, and it usually is. But when the pain of staying the same is higher than the pain of, or your thought of the pain of changing.
I know the last guy I broke up with, it was that same thing. I was like, how much more that I could stand?
Did he break up with you? Or you
No, I
broke
broke up with him. But that's the thing. It was like you stick around doing the same thing until you're like, I can't take it anymore. But how long is that going to take if all of America, secretly voted for getting rid of that type of thought?
But what was they're really voting for? They were voting for really the border.
That means our safety and
the border and the economics.
No skin. It wasn't about skin color. Or even about what
some of that backfired on them,
from.
because you saw a lot of people that happen to be black and Hispanic and they really move over and gravitate to the Republican Party, because the Republican Party has become really the party of tolerance. Dare I say that word? I mean, different ideas. You don't have 8 things that you have to believe, and then that's it, or you're not Republican. Now there's still some goofy people in the Republican. Trust me, there's some idiot. I mean, look, Mark. I'll just say this. I mean, I think I have permission to say. He'll say it himself. I believe I do. Look, Mark's like, look, I'm pissing off both sides, because I'm not afraid to vote with the Democrat if their ideas are good. Yeah. If it's going to bless 121 and the state of Texas and ultimately myself, whether I'm a one-termer or more, I gotta live with my decisions. That's what I'm gonna vote. And oh, you're not Republican enough because I can't believe you did this. Hold on, do you really know what you're saying? And kind of that idea. And so we've gotten away. We need to go to that. Is my point. What ideas are going to bless us? And that happened, I think, on the national scale. The idea of an open border. Why do you think Starr County went Republican?
Yeah.
Starr County went Republican. Yeah. You don't think that they're loving that their choice now? I mean, 96% reduction in illegal crossings. And are we going to hold the Democrats accountable for when they said we need new legislation? No, you don't, asshole. You need to just need to enforce what's already on the books and have the courage to do it and quit your agenda for whatever it is, and we can discuss what the agenda is. But no, you don't. And think about that. I heard something just yesterday that foreign births on our soil reduced by like 400%. Something crazy. Wow. Meaning that people that are not citizens are having kids here, and then you have birthright citizenship. That is reduced by astronomical amounts, and I don't know what it is, so I don't want to make sure I'm being accurate. But that makes sense. That's how you lose a country. That's how you lose an ethos. That's how you lose a culture when you don't have a simulation. It was Rome's problem. Rome did not, didn't fall.
Dissolve, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, didn't fall because they were defeated from the outside. They fell because they eroded from the inside. And we have to George's point earlier, my grandfather, we say Jiddo in Arabic, my Jiddo came over from Lebanon. I mean, he was proud to be an American. He assimilated. He spoke 7 languages, by the way. He could communicate in 7 languages because he sold fruit. And back then, all the different neighborhoods were different. But he was proud to be an American. You understand my point? Mm-hmm. He was an American of Lebanese descent, and my pop served in the army. My pops. I mean, we need that mentality that yes, you don't lose your ethnicity. Yes, you should be proud of your ethnicity. Yes, please be proud of your culture. I love learning about different cultures. I'm proud of my culture, but we have to understand what America stands for, and that's been eroded over the years.
Yeah, and when you say when the pain of staying the same, when you exceeds the pain of changing, we change. If you remember, I credit Sandra will remember him. I credit that to a dear friend and a former pastor. His name was Glenn Serino. Steph and I were chatting with him over something, and many years ago, and
we've kept that going for him for
and
years now.
And he said that, and then later he said it in a sermon. I said it's just absolutely profound. But the question remains: how long will it be? How painful will we let this get? I mean, we had a civil war that settled the evil nature of breaking people up into boxes of identities. 600,000 dead. Exactly how many more? How many more women and men, black and white, walking together, hand in hand, through great adversity against the status quo of racial division in the United States, even after the Civil War was fought, through Reconstruction, through Jim Crow? We need to celebrate their efforts, and the best way to celebrate their efforts is to start practicing the things that truly unify us. Enough with the bullshit with the color already. It's irritating as hell. Enough already, and it's destructive. It never goes to a
helpful.
good.
It's not helpful.
I went back. It's hard still for me to read it because it's so profound and beautiful. But I would love to see the creed that Martin Luther King espoused in March of 1963. And he said, and I think it's so relevant for today, let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It's a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will sit down together at the table of brotherhood. Try to get that, reflect on it, try to read through that, and don't get choked up. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is profound and it's beautiful. And Nico's right. He's like, where did he get that from?
Biblical.
He got that from biblical priorities. Christ, the cornerstone. Christ, the cornerstone, broke down the divisions between God and man. God himself thought that was a good idea. But we can't get over our skin color. Are we really? And so this isn't theoretical. It leads to very dark places. Enough already. You brought up an interesting question, Karen. Why do they persist with this? And the reason is because as vile and as failed as Marxism is in its ideals, its politics of division, it is rooted in human envy. It's rooted in a human condition. And apart from Christ, there is no solution to that problem.
And envy is different than jealousy. You got to make that distinction, George. You and I talk about this all the time in the studies.
Yeah, I mean, jealousy has its appropriate place, right? As the analogy we always use is, if I see my wife flirting with another man, and no, she hasn't done that, thank God. But if I see my wife flirting with another man, I become rightfully jealous. She's my wife, right? Envy is very different. If you envy something, you want something that isn't yours, and you resent the fact that someone else has it.
Yes.
It's really a pathetic emotion.
Yep.
And so Marxism
coveting
feeds that, and it's not hard to understand why it's atheistic at its core. It is a complete revulsion and rejection of the Christian ethos of forgiveness, right, and reconciliation. Yep. Really, I mean, these couldn't be any more antithetical. This is a war on America foundationally. Now, play it out, as Nico said. Play this out. Where does this go? And I'm going to say this last piece and then toss it over to you guys. He says, I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, right out of Scripture. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we'll be able to hew out of the mountains of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we'll be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we'll be able to work together, pray together, struggle together, go to jail together, stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. That's the ethos.
This is it. And he gets that from Ephesians 2:14. For he himself is our peace, who has made two groups one, and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility, by setting aside in his flesh the law with all its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity, one race, out of two, thus making peace. Shalom, he was a prince of peace. And in one body to reconcile both of them to God through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility. So Martin Luther King, that should be in every wall, school, governmental building,
courthouse, right?
And I would love to see as many MLK Jr. statues all over this country. I would love it, because he is the American dream. He is representative of what America stands for. That speech is exactly what America represents, and that speech has a foundation. It's deeply rooted in a biblical worldview, not in an Islamic worldview. I assure you, not in a Hindu worldview, a Buddhist, for sure not atheist and agnostic, in a Judeo-Christian worldview. Now, it doesn't mean you have to accept Christ as your savior, but that right there is what we used to be proud of, and now they want to bastardize what Martin Luther King stood for. They want to borrow his skin, but not borrow his mission. And
my
that's
God,
the
that's
problem.
so true.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're using it. They're a bunch of frauds. And then they should honor the man for what he stood for and what he died for, literally. And we should have as many statues of him as we can put up anywhere.
Loved it. I mean, here in this speech, you see this intersection
Beautiful
of the
speech.
ministry, life ministry, death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the gospel of Christ. That Christ, through his sacrifice on the cross, really dismantled the enmity between man and God, this wall of hostility, and made it possible for man to enter into a place of friendship and fellowship with God. And then he looked at the Declaration of Independence, I think one of the greatest theological statements at the heart of our nation. Truly that all men are created equal. I love that. And he drew this beautiful parallel. And he said, look, he's basically saying, I think that's why it's so powerful. Don't just listen to what I'm saying, but I'm basically saying back to you guys what your creed is as Americans. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reminding you of what it is that we've committed to as a nation from our founding core. And I think this is why America is truly exceptional. It is a working out of the highest ideals that is the gospel in political terms, with all of our flaws. It's more than that, but it's certainly a significant piece of that, which is why we're never, if we remain America, I love what Nico said. He says, well, then call it something else then.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't America.
Yeah, that's right.
The left's view of America isn't America. Call it whatever else, but it ain't America, because if it is America, it's going to constantly deal with that tension in its ethos, that you cannot be treating people as less than human simply because of some stupid ass immutable trait like race or skin tone or gender or sexual it's insane to do that, and you will destroy yourselves on the precipice of division. So it's enough already. So I think that statue is worth a hell of a lot more than just, well, it's just a statue. Don't make that mistake.
Questions? Let's do rapid fire questions before we wrap up. We got 10 more minutes or so.
Everybody is loving what y'all are talking about, because I just keep on thinking, when, like you said, George, when is it going to even out and get back to those kind of thoughts instead of divisive thoughts?
You know, we're seeing that with young men. I mean, we're seeing this desire to want to come back to a kind of a more traditional, doctrinal, structured worldview. I mean, we're seeing that the young men. I mean, and the polling is showing that, and I think the voting shows that, and the Dems don't know what to do with it. I mean, what do they stand for? I mean, they're looking back. They've tried it another way. Okay, this kind of ultra make up your truth, and your truth versus my truth, and relative truth, and all that other bullshit. I mean, people aren't buying for that because they're seeing the results of it. Ideas have consequences, and not all ideas are the same. So they have different consequences. And you're seeing this drawing back of the men, and I think it's this pushback also in that. Remember that phase, and it's still there. This whole toxic masculinity bullshit. I make the same point also. Is don't call it masculinity. If somebody has bastardized masculinity, an abusive person, not a servant leader, not a sacrificial man, not someone who is going to lead, love, and provide for his family, then that's not manhood to me. That's something else. That's not. And so I think manhood, by definition, is biblically rooted. To me, I think womanhood is too. And I've been asked that question. What does it mean? Are you a feminist? Are you this? And then I take them down the road of being a biblical feminist. And then they don't like that answer. Okay, thanks. And I've done that in different college settings before. And so, like I just said, we need to have these discussions. I love that podcasting and the kind of the Joe Rogans of the world. That guy's close, man. And I love the discussions out there. I love the conversations. Dare I say, call them debates. Fine, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're not paying attention, start paying attention to UK. Because this trade deal is really irrelevant in my opinion. Because in a few years, they're not even going to be. We without something
I think
drastic.
That's
the
profound
UK's done.
what you're saying. So what you're saying is that the cultural integrity simply won't be there to be able to actually implement.
That's right.
These things like trade deals. I was thinking as you were talking, and going back to the Pope, because this all ties together. In Sidebar, where every topic isn't isolated. There's a theme that cuts through that. And you were talking about Leo XIII and how he sort of channeled back to his predecessor. But and then you talked about the fall of Rome, and I thought, hold up a second. There's a couple of similar. I wonder, is it Leo XIII or would it have been Leo I? Because Leo I presided over the fall of Rome, I think, if my history's correct, in the 5th century. And so you're right. Rome fell because it was a collapse of cultural integrity. It was made up of hundreds and hundreds of tribes that never assimilated. And ultimately, I think it's in 476 AD, the fall of the Western Roman Empire, you had barbarian invasions. It's sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. And Leo I, as the Roman pontiff, kind of stepped into the shoes of a collapsed.
Stop it.
No, he truly did. Leo I, as a Roman Catholic pontiff, basically becomes kind of chief negotiator, negotiating peace agreements. He really becomes kind of this bridge builder and was known for that at a time of great division. And I just wonder, that's Leo I. And I wonder if there may be some heralding back to that. It's not like the Catholic Church doesn't need that right now. It's not like the world doesn't need it. We need people people of leadership, people of clear mind and clear eyes to with some influence to bring people back to the things that matter.
That's a really important history lesson you gave us right now, George. But it just makes it even more relevant that Leo XIV, Pope now, has a wonderful opportunity. Look, many times the position makes the man or the woman. Yes. The situation makes it. People stand. People say that about George Bush. I wasn't a Bush fan, but when it came to 9/11, that makes or break your situation.
Right.
So every Trump with the assassination attempt, different people either step up or step out of a circumstance. And this may be his moment.
Well,
and
it's been said that times make the man.
Yeah, that's right. That's the same idea. But who knows? So we should be praying for him, because whether you're Catholic or not, that position has been won usually. Like John Paul, everyone says, I'm a John Paul guy. Okay, well, because he was a unifier. He brought clarity to the Catholic Church. He brought clarity to Christian theology at the times. Again, with our differences with Catholicism, but then you had Benedict, who I don't watch Godfather 3. I don't know. There's all kinds of conspiracy theories behind what's going on there, but he stepped down or whatever. I haven't looked into it, but it's weird.
Benedict the 16th.
Yeah, and then
I like that guy. I really like him.
But nobody else did. It seemed like. But
what do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying. Obviously, what the hell?
No, not internally. You're right. Interesting point. I don't think he is. No, Benedict 16, I believe, has expired.
But he stepped down. That's a weird deal. I'm sure you looked into it. I didn't, but I'll ask you offline.
He did step down. Yeah,
I know that.
He did.
And
I think there were
down. Was he forced, or was he stepped, or what happened, or I don't know.
Political
pictures with him.
palace intrigue, right?
But who knows? But then Francis comes after him, right?
Indeed.
And how long was Francis the Pope? Too long? I don't know how long it was, but whatever. It was a while. Yeah. I just think there's a wonderful opportunity for this dude. And he can for the Pope. I'm sorry, and really bring honor to the papacy, and then elevate the Catholic Church. Again, if they're really struggling with Catholics in America, well, then this is an opportunity to be that bridge builder. So let's see what happens. We should be praying for him.
The more I think about it, the more I think there could be something there. I hope that as we learn more about why he chose that, I'm curious now. But now as I think about it, the first Leo was in a bizarre position. As you see the split of the empire, because the Rome.
What was the negotiation? What did they end up with back then?
Well, the Rome as a city just became absolutely destroyed, and so Leo broadened his power. Interestingly, and his influence, because he's the one that negotiated for the peace and preservation of Rome. Meanwhile, in the Eastern Roman Empire, which you guys have probably remember from your high school history as the Byzantine Empire, that continued. This is why you have an Eastern Pope, Western Pope.
So nobody pays attention to that.
This continued for another 1,000 years, and it ultimately collapsed in, I think it was in 1453, if I remember correctly, and that was as a result of Ottoman invasions, the Muslims. Anyway, what a mess. But I love what you said. The times do make the man. Would Donald Trump have been elected in 2008? No. He wouldn't have. In 2016, he barely got elected, right? The times really have a lot to do with.
I think he's got a wonderful opportunity.
The greatness of the man.
Leo. He's got a really wonderful opportunity. I'm eager to see what he does, to see what happens. I'm encouraged, but prayerful.
Amen.
What?
Go back, pull it up. You can actually see there's a bunch of history on how Leo I saw his role. I'm just seeing certain parallels that he felt like, okay, I believe that, and he said it. Leo XIV said it in his homily that he was asking for and expecting that God would bless his efforts. And of course, he said because he was a successor of Saint Peter. Leo I said the same thing, and I don't know. There just seems to be certain parallels. You have chaos and this person who appreciates the severity of the moment and takes seriously their
role. He seemed to get emotional during his speech. So let's see what happened. Any comments we got to address?
No, everybody's
shots?
cool. Everybody's happy.
No? George and I still like each other. Everybody's okay with
Thank
that?
God. No fights today.
No arguments. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Again, a very blessed and happy Mother's Day and Mommy's Day to all you mommies out there. And I mean this, someone who deals with the justice system, I call it the social experiment of our society. A mommy's role, of course, a daddy's role, and when it comes to Father's Day, but that's God's prescription, a mommy and a daddy working together beautifully to help raise our children and to influence our society. So thank you for all the mommies and what you do for our society, but for your families. I hope you're spoiled on Sunday. You deserve it every day, but hopefully tomorrow. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.